Okay, so we got a car, we got a track, and we could move the car around the track, but to get a feeling better for this racing game, we're going to want the camera to follow the car around the track. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a close-up of the car, and we're going to add a child object, just an empty child object, and we're going to call this object the follow um, object, okay? Or I'll just call it the follow. All right, and the follow, so we could see it in the scene view, we're just going to give it an icon to display a purple circle. All right, now I'm going to have the follow selected. Let me just turn my view around a little bit so I can see it from the side. You can see there's a purple right there, and I'm going to move on the Y and the Z axis right here, and I'm just going to move this back here a little bit. This is basically going to be my position that I want the camera to be looking at my car. Okay, just pull it back a little. So, we could play around with it afterward, but we make sure that the X is 0, so it's in the center of the car. And then we move up on the Y and back on the Z from the car. That's our follow position. Now, the camera, we're going to have to add a script so that the camera could follow that follow position. So I'm going to add a new script for the camera, and I'm going to call it cam follow because that's the job of it. And then I'm going to double click and open up the script in Visual Studio, line up my things here, and I'll start typing the code myself. So for the camera to follow the car, I'm going to need to know what the car is. So I'm going to have a public game object, so the user could tell me what the car is, and I initialize it. Then I'm also going to have to know what the follow object is. So I'll call it follow object equals null, initialize it. And then I want to have some control on how fast the camera follows the car. So I'll have a follow speed. And I think I'll start off by trying to have it equal to 3. All right, and now the camera is going to follow on every frame. So in the public, no, it's a private actually. It's private void update function. There we go. This is one of the events of model behavior, and this event fires every time a frame update happens. And in here, first I'll check to make sure we have a follow object. If follow object equals null or car equals null, then just return from this function and don't do anything so we don't have an error. But if the follow object and the car object are set, we're going to do the follow code. So first thing we want to do is have the camera. This cam follow is attached to the camera object. So when I say this, it's talking about the camera. So the camera, the transformer of the camera, I want it to look at the car. Transform. So that points the camera to look at the car. That's the first thing. Then the second thing is we want to have the camera move to where the car is, like so it stays behind the car as the car is moving around the track. And we don't want the camera to move too jerky, so we're going to have the camera move a certain amount each frame. And we're just going to use something I already calculated out. I get the absolute value, that's always a positive value, of the distance, vector3 dot distance, between the camera, this transform dot position, and the follow object. Follow object dot transform dot position. Okay, so whatever that distance is, I want to move a certain amount, and that's where I'm going to use the follow speed. This follow speed right there. Okay, so the distance I have to move by the multiply the follow speed so I can control how fast I'm moving. And then I'm going to do a command to move the camera. transform dot position equals vector 3 dot move towards the camera. This dot transform dot position. The camera is going to move toward follow object dot transform dot position, and it's going to move by this amount, camera move amount, and I kind of always multiply by time dot delta time, and there. So this command points the camera at the car, and this command has the camera keep moving to wherever this purple dot is and look at the car. All right, so save that. See, you got that little star there, so you still have to save it. And then after it saves, you're going to go back in Unity and show this little hourglass saying it's processing the script changes. And here we have the cam follow, and we're going to have to tell it what the car is that we want it to follow. It's the duster. And the follow object, which is the follow wall that we made, purple follow. And the speed is 3. All right, so now the camera has that script to follow the car. Let me save the scene, and now let me try it out. So I'm going to press play, and let's see if now the camera could, good, it moved right behind the car, right to where that purple dot was. See that? And now as I start moving the car using the arrow keys, yep, the camera follows me. Good. Will it follow me around the turn? Yes, it does. All right, so now we have a camera that'll follow us around the track. Now we can start playing around trying to drive this car, which is really hard to drive because it's really, really slippery. But there's ways you can control that. I'm going to click on I'm still in play mode because I'm going to find out what the settings I like are. I'm in play mode. I select the car, the duster, and the rigid body has drag, okay? So drag is like the friction between the car and the thing it touches. So right now there is no drag. It's basically like it's on ice, and maybe that's why it's kind of hard to control. So what I'll do is I'll try to increase the drag. Let me see if I put 0.5 as a value, and now let me try to drive the car around and see how it drives. Got to click in the window here. Okay, using the arrow keys, and it's a little bit easier. Yeah, a little bit easier. How about if I did a 1? Okay, let me try a 1, enter, and click back on the window. Back it up, and drive. Okay, so that's the way to control how skiddy I am, I guess. If I'm too skiddy or not. Okay, so starting to have a game here. At least a car I could control, and I could adjust the controls and how fast the camera follows me and where the camera is. So for example, since the camera's following that purple dot, I had it right there at first. Let's see if I move it. What happens if I move the camera like a little bit lower, like that, like a chase camera. I could play around with the camera position, see which one I like better. All right, so this one's kind of like low. I guess we could play around with this. Whoa, whoa. Which way do I go? I don't know. This way. Let's go this way. Of course, we're gonna have to add things like sound and some skid marks and stuff. Oh, but you know what happened when I press play? I lost my settings for the drag. See? So when you're in play mode and you change the settings, they won't save. But if you stop the game, you gotta remember what setting I had there. I think it was, guys, I forgot what I had. Was it a 1? Or is it a 2? Let's try a 2 and then try play again. So this is like a really low behind the car thing. Let's see if I could even have the follow position like, well, it's gonna always look at the car. So if it's right here, like right there, and the camera's still gonna look at the car. Let's see how that works. But this is the good thing about the follow object is that that's kind of hard. But you see, since the camera doesn't follow as fast as I'm driving, guess it's up to us where we put that camera. This is pretty good. You know, you get a real close view of your car. But then when you stop, you're like, the camera catches up and it's right on the car. Uh-oh, I moved on the wrong axis. Let me put that back to 0 for X. And let me try moving up and back a little bit, like a real looking down kind of view. Let's see how that looks. This is cool. Then I can see if there's a car coming behind me. I can see the cars to the side of me. I can see the track. So, you know, I'd adjust this. I got a car I'm driving around the track, and we're coming along with the game. So far, it's coming along pretty good.